Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian from Whisper Status 74. This video is on the NCAA College Football Championship, which airs tomorrow, January 13th on ESPN in 4K. As you will see it behind me, we'll go through the article. And I did a video on the Sugar Bowl last week about that game, and I really asked for your feedback with the sound quality, with the picture quality, with everything from the telecast, what you liked, what you didn't like. I got so much great feedback, and I'm asking for that feedback once again. What I'm looking for now, though, is even if you're not able to see it, I would like to hear your comments on whether it's your frustration or your inability or why you weren't able to find it, and what you would like in the future from both ESPN and Samsung, which is also working in tandem with them to bring this broadcast to light. We're going to go through this article and we'll talk about it, but there is so much work that goes into their production, the different pylon cameras, the different parts of the video that are from the trailer. A lot of work and research goes into them. What's important about videos like ours from really small channels is you never know who's watching, be it Samsung or ESPN. I'm not saying our channel is large enough, but you never know. ESPN or Samsung might be watching channels like ours. When they focus on large focus groups and people know that they're from ESPN or they take any kind of poll, it's hard to get a real feel for what the real community out there really wants to see and what they're not happy with. We have a very, very positive community here that I'm very proud of, and I would love to hear your feedback on the last game's telecast, if you didn't respond, or tomorrow's championship game. Now, the game itself is very, very intriguing from a standpoint of the two competing teams, being Clemson and LSU. Awesome teams, awesome record, but what I'm focused primarily on is the broadcast, the picture quality, the sound quality. A lot of you guys struggled with sound in and out issues. The majority of you had a hard time finding it. So let's just pretend for a moment that ESPN and Samsung are both watching this, and I want you to be able to comment not only on the telecast, but even if you weren't able to see it, what your expectations are, what you think about ESPN as a whole in regards to their 4K, and Samsung as well. And why I think it's very important for Samsung is as they're talking about 8K, the biggest detractor of 8K is the lack of 8K. And we would argue that before 4K displays became more commonplace, when it was mostly cable TV, was the lack of content, considering that our cable boxes typically top out at 720p or 1080i. So this is why I'm covering it in this channel with our community, is that when people want to buy a 4K display, more than games, more than movies, when I speak to you guys in the comments, what I get is, what display would you recommend? And then you list what you are looking for. Video games isn't always in that discussion. Movies, streaming, they're typically top of the list, but what is always there, no matter what country you're from, is sports. And it's always very tricky as it's not available really in streaming in terms of 4K. You have the ESPN app, you have ESPN Plus, but it's not a constant flow like, say, Netflix, Amazon Prime. But the real trick there is you're relying on your display to upconvert a cable signal. And some of you guys are buying 4K displays primarily for sports. And that's why I think this ESPN broadcast, they've been broadcasting games throughout the year, is most important. I want to know what you guys think, what your expectations are, as well as the rest of the telecast, which we're going to go through the different options they have. I will say before I get behind the camera and go through this article, the biggest issue I have is kind of lack of the ability, or I should say the inability for me to find a lot of information on it. Whether you Google on my desktop, ESPN, 4K, telecast, it doesn't really come up. And a lot of you guys don't even know if you're in 4K. So DirecTV, Altice, we're gonna go through the different options that are available, but I'd like a little more clarity in how to actually find the game and to know if we're watching it in 4K. A lot of you guys that watched it said 4K was right in the corner, it was all over the screen. That's what I wanna see, and I really, really want your feedback. Now back behind the camera, we're looking at sports video groups news. Like I was saying before, it was a little difficult to find more details on it in terms of its telecast and where it will be available in 4K. But we're gonna go through it, and for you guys in specific regions, it'll be different. but we're going to go through this together. National Championship Preview, ESPN improves Megacast with 4K viewing options, RefCast. Now, it's in New Orleans. We talked about it. January 13th, it'll be at 8 p.m. I said 8:15. And what is interesting from what they're delivering, and these guys work very hard at this, because the challenge is for us to have uninterrupted viewing, not just from advertisers, which we understand. A lot of you guys that saw the 4K telecast saw that there wasn't really commercials. There was just a template up. But the challenge for them is to keep everybody very, very interested. And the best way to do that is to offer a lot of these different ways to see the game. So we see here, main telecast, ESPN, 4K, Samsung QLED, 4K Skycam, 4K Field Pass. ESPN2 has the Spanish as well, but ESPNU has Coach's Film Room, Clemson Hometown Radio, ESPN News has the Command Center, LSU Hometown Radio, Goal Line Data Center, which will be on Classic, and then streaming live on the RefCast and the Skycast, all 22 TechCast. Now, as you'll see down in the article here, as the traditional broadcast airs, Megacast will offer new options, RefCast and 2 presentations from last year, Field Pass and Skycast, now in 4K courtesy of Samsung QLED on DirecTV. So as we see the main telecast, this is where it can be a little bit confusing, as it's the main telecast, but they're also saying Field Pass and Skycast. So for me personally, a little bit more clarity there would be helpful. I would want to see 4K everywhere, like to be the top of the article talking about it being in that 4K resolution. And you'll see here on DirecTV, Comcast and Altice. Now, DirecTV is satellite, Comcast and Altice are cable companies. I have Altice, formerly Optimum. We don't have a way to watch 4K here through our cable box, plus the cable box is limiting our ability to see that resolution, again, topping out at 1080i and 720p. So I will try to locate it through the app. I know some of you said you were able to see it through the app. I couldn't tell in many ways where to see it, so I know this is a vague video as to where it is. You'll be able to see in your own area yourself between tonight and tomorrow, whether calling your cable provider, on where you'll be able to see it. But many of you were very, very happy with it. So for the community, for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm just asking for your honest opinion and your expectations. And again, we're going to go through some of these features. I would love to know what your thoughts are as far as the heads-up display on the TV, or what you would like to see on the screen, score, downs. They're really going to give you a lot of information, and we're going to go through that quickly. But what I'm looking for is, again, treat it like a big focus group. Even if you're not into college football, if you're into, soccer, or I should call that football as well, if you're into any sport, what is it you're looking for in terms of 4K and in terms of the telecast? So as we talk about here with the 4K, they also have the Command Center, which we mentioned here. Data Center, Goal Line. So there's 15 different ways to see. Coach's Film Room, ESPNU, which we talked about up here. It's a lot of information. All 22 on the app. And then you have here, you also have the Pile cams, which many of you have seen that in the NFL. You're very happy with it. But there is a lot. Now, again, this article is one of few that really goes into, you have the ref cams here. And you have the talent here rounding out the telecast. ESPN Radio. But primarily what we're focused on here, guys, is resolution, HDR, how things look. Now, here is part of the way to watch it. What's interesting here is you can see so much of the technology they're putting into it, which is really interesting for us that are gamers. Let me get that out a little bit. Is being able to really see all of this information and then be able to switch back and have a much cleaner image But for all the information, all the cameras working, for a lot of you guys that are in the stats, you want to really be part of it, it's going to be all around. Now, ESPN's trying very hard to bring you that kind of information for a more complete telecast, which was a lot of things that we'd be looking up on our phones will be available during the telecast. So very, very interesting. A lot of R&D goes into this. A lot of very talented people are trying to figure out what we want to watch. Now, as we go here with Field Pass, sidelines of the Superdome will be free-flowing commentary on the game. Joining the pair as a special guest, alternative pregame show. There's your talent there. The data center, which is on the goal line, will focus on the digital side of the game with real-time stats, analytics, social media commentary, and player information. The command center, which will be on the ESPN News, will be somewhat of a light version of data center, providing up to 4 viewing perspectives at once with statistics and real-time drive charts on the side. That is a lot of content. Now, in partnership with GMI Sports, Clemson, and LSU Sports, for hometown radio, which is pretty cool because you get to hear their side of how they're talking about the game. As we all know, we love sports. The hometown radio can be very interesting and at times perhaps a little bit one-sided, but that's always interesting to hear, especially if you're fans of these two schools. And then I like this is an added auditory bonus. Sounds of the game on ESPN Classic will enable viewers to imagine themselves inside the Superdome. The game presentation will feature all natural audio from the stadium, including the brand performances. Now, that'll be interesting for those of you with best surround sound or really nice sound bars to enjoy how that sounds. Now, in closing, why is this important to me and why do I think it's important to you? As I mentioned before when we started the video, was when it comes down to buying these displays and why I think it's important for Samsung and the other manufacturers to pay attention to this, is there are a majority of you that watch cable TV still. You watch it through there is a lot of cord cutting, and I understand that. But many of you are still watching traditional cable. And when I'm in a store seeing a display being pushed on somebody who doesn't have streaming capabilities, namely sports, comes up. And to see sports in 4K, whether it's through an app or any other method, I think is something that is huge with not just sports, but with shows. But here's the thing. There isn't any quickness to bring shows to cable as we're getting all that through our streaming. We can get that through Hulu, get it all over the place. But sports is still kind of left behind. Live sports is left behind. Sports is arguably the biggest drama there is. It is unscripted. It is, at the moment, it's exhilarating. And we always talk about people ask me about how does it look with sports? How does that display look with sports? How does that projector look with sports? And unfortunately, many times that is really up to the upscaling ability of their technology, to the size, to the upscaling, the pixel density, when in reality, I should be able to just tell you, sports looks amazing on this display because it's in native 4K, maybe HDR down the road, but I would love to be able to say that. So for me, it's very important if ESPN sees this, if Samsung sees this, or sees small channels like this, to really get your feedback. Just comment, let me know what you think. Please try and keep your comments, whether they are against what you see, just in a positive light. Because if you can keep it positive, even if you disagree, or then they can be criticism that is constructive. Constructive criticism is the most important. People that really want to know from these networks aren't looking for praise. They're looking for criticism. They're looking for, yes, of course, some praise. They want to know how they can make it better. They want to know before they put all of their R&D into all these different things, what you guys really think. Being in a focus group with them, being in a focus group with Samsung, they're not going to get your honest opinion. Through small channels like ours and other channels all through YouTube and social media, they're going to get the real feedback from you guys. And that's what I'm really asking your help for in this video. So please, if you commented on the Sugar Bowl, please also comment on this video. Please let me know if you're excited for this game. But I think even if you're not a huge college football fan, to try and see this in 4K is monumental. To see what your display can really do in 4K with DirecTV. Again, I'm a little bit vague on how to really see it. You'll have to do that research on your own, which is why I'm doing this video a day earlier. but I'd love to hear your thoughts. How excited are you for this? And again, if this is not your sport, be it hockey, be it tennis, football, boxing, UFC, it doesn't matter. If this stuff gets great run, if this content does well, it'll only help all of us see more of it. And again, as 4K is in its peak, Samsung is pushing 8K in. It would be great to at least have 4K content and maybe say goodbye to 720p and 1080i, which is what we're chained to with our cable boxes. Thank you so much, as always, for your attention and for your help in videos like this, where I really do ask for your feedback. My feedback so far is my inability to really find a lot of clear and concise ways for me to view it would be my only real criticism. But for those of you that are actually going to see it, let me know your thoughts on the audio, on the visual, on the telecast, on the talent of the telecast, and also if you do value all of these different options. I think all of them are very, very interesting. If you do choose these options, how long did you stay with them? Did you stay with them briefly? Did you think they were not helpful? So the coverage, they're trying very hard to give you all the stats that so many of us gamers love, and they're all going to be on screen. So please let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you again. I'm Brian from Whisper Status 74. Please like and subscribe. I put out more than my share of videos. Unfortunately, it's too many. But check it out. Clemson, LSU. Let me know who you want to win. And please leave your feedback. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much and enjoy the game. Take care.